agentic AI and everything is different. So generative AI and agentic AI. So one thing you need to understand is the whole thing is actually centered around LLM, the large language model. These are the brain, and it would not be wrong if I just go ahead and write them as, hey, these are all the brain. It gives you the all capabilities and the capacity to think, to reason, to all these things. So LLM are just brain, and let's go ahead and connect this just like that. This is your brain. And what we have seen so far is generative AI. So how is this generative AI different from agentic AI? Just very simple thing. Your generative AI is dependent on your input, and once you give this input, it goes ahead and gives you an output, and that is all it does. It has no other capabilities. You ask it a question, it's going to give you a result, and that is your generative AI. If you want to get more output, you have to give it more of input. That is it. So this generative AI can be considered as one single brain that has a lot of capability to think, but it doesn't have the capability of acting it. So if I just go ahead and look for it, can you go ahead and act for me, or can take some action for me? That is the part where it absolutely lags. So this has no connection with the action. It has just one connection of you give it an input and it generates an output. It would not be wrong to say that generative AI is a fancy next word prediction, but instead of predicting a word, it just predicts a lot more. It has a lot more context of it during its training process. So when you ask it a question, it just predicts the whole answer for you instead of predicting a word. When you ask it to write a code for you, it just predicts the code and probably sometimes predict more than one code. And you just have to find out which one suits best for you. Nothing more than that. We need to stop putting this as some kind of a magic. It is not. All right. So if that's the case, what's the difference between the agentic AI? Now, agentic AI, as we mentioned them always, it's like you have a brain, but now your brain has more body parts. You have given it hands and legs and probably more capability to do the action. So the first and the most important part of agentic AI is it can take action. How you might be thinking, don't worry, I'll walk you through with that. In fact, I have created a course around it. It's available on YouTube, by the way, it's totally free. So the whole goal is the ability to take action. But agentic AI is not just going to take the action, because that doesn't really make it true agentic. We need to give it more options. So you're going to see something like this. First of all, agentic AI do have a goal, or probably goals, depends what you want to do. So they can actually plan the whole things, and goal is something that you have to give. It's not going to find out the goal on its own. You have to give that whether I want to sort my tickets based on priorities, or maybe I want to have a React application with the to-do. So this is the part where you come in. You have to give it. Once after that, this is really good in planning. So an AI agent can actually help you in planning the whole thing, which is required for it. And sometimes the user actually does the planning with a different LLM model. Remember, LLMs are just brain. They help you to think. So this whole process is planning. After that, sometimes it also includes the memory. The memory is, it just want to store what it want to do, or probably what it wants to learn. So both of the things are available there. Once we go through with the memory phase, now this is totally an optional phase. After that, we have a reasoning capability. Now this is something which is new. And again, the whole reasoning engine that comes from the LLM. Yeah, that's the part. And then it also has something known as autonomy. What is this autonomy? This autonomy comes to this entire LLM agent through the tools that you design. What are these tools? Most of the time they are just functions. Go ahead and create a file. So you have the OS module capability to create a file or a folder, or maybe an autonomy to send an email, or maybe to check into your email, or schedule a calendar event. So these are autonomy, and that actually comes through the tool itself. So nothing is done magically. This whole thing, if anything has something like this as a structure or have some parts of it, yes, we can go ahead and call this as an agent. So yeah, that's it. So this autonomy, this comes from the tool itself, and rest of the things, this whole thing like reasoning, this comes from the whole reasoning engine. This one comes from an LLM. Any LLM, or you can use multiple LLM to, if you have a reasoning, an answer is there from the ChatGPT or the OpenAI, you can reason it further with Gemini or anything. So this whole reasoning engine, yes, I call this as a reasoning engine. This comes from an LLM. Rest memory, yes, we do have some special memory tools for the AI, but mostly it's just a database. Yes, with different capacity and capability, but it's just end of the day a memory. It could be an in-memory, or it could be a dedicated memory designed for AI agents, like a special database, a Pinecone, or whatever you are using. Planning phase and goal phase. This is what you have to come into the picture and to tell how this task is going to be break down into individual things or individual steps, or maybe individual tools. So I hope this gives you an idea of how it goes. So again, just to summarize this, goal is something, it's a high level functionality. Like I want to create a PDF, I want to create a to-do app in the React or in the Angular. Planning is the phase which determines the steps that you want to take to achieve a specific goal. This could be a steps in 5 steps, and this is where all the agents like Cursor and Windsurf, they're all kind of improving that how we can actually break it down, because once it's break down, there is no limit on the tokens and everything can be done easily. The next one is memory. It keeps the track of what's already being done or what I need to learn from previously tasks that I've done so that I can improve and I can send this context to the brain again, the LLM. And then we have this reasoning capabilities. We call this reasoning and autonomy as kind of a reflection as well sometime. That, hey, I can take the actions and based on that action, I can see whether this is all good. And this whole thing is coming up from the brain superpower. So what could be the real world use cases for it? We will definitely go with that, but I'll want to just throw some random ideas so that maybe you can work with that. So the first one could be an AI recruiter. How an AI recruiter? It can probably go with all the resume. It can email to the candidate and can schedule an interview. So 3 steps: scan the resume, email the candidate, and schedule the interview. That's it. That is your AI agent. Yes. What else it could be? It could be a very popular one, customer support agent. It can learn from the previous interaction of what already has been done. It can handle the tickets, like which ticket should go in the high priority, which ticket should be taken up by a human itself, or how should I categorize this, or how should I reply it directly. That is one thing. And another thing which is really popular these days, it can be your podcast planner. Yeah, it can be. So if you give enough information to it, like who is my guest, what he has done in the past, and create episode notes and all these things, give me interesting questions, I want to counter so all of this can be planned up. So all these planning process can be there. And a lot of people might be asking, all right, so it can be used just for planning purpose. So where is the memory or reasoning or autonomy in that? No, every agent doesn't need to fulfill all of this. It just needs to attain or fulfill a certain task. LLM is just brain. You just chat with it, but agent actually does a task. And that task might not include memory or might not include autonomy. There could be a case for that. So that's what we have. All right. And apart from this, I also want to give you some of the frameworks which helps you to do these AI agent things very easily. Of course, we will start with the very famous one, which is LangGraph. LangGraph gives you all of this. You might have heard about the Auto GPT, pretty popular one. And after that, we have a new one, which is Crew AI. It's a pretty fantastic one. And we have all others as well. Like there is recently getting popular, which is AutoGen. But again, there are many others as well. The easiest one to get started in case you are looking up for is LangGraph. It has its own overheads and stuff, but it's a very good to start the process and then you can migrate to any one of them. So now would you like to go ahead and build an AI agent? Yeah, we can actually go ahead and build that. So what's our goal? First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to build this in OpenAI. So basically what I'm saying is the brain that I'm going to use is going to come from the OpenAI. That's the whole idea for it. This will give me the brain. All right, fair enough. Now, can I use some other brains for it? Yeah, you can go ahead and use Gemini. You can use Anthropic or any other company which is providing you something like that. Now, what do we want to do? Now, with this brain, I will have a list of tasks in my text file. So I'll just add some of the tasks. And what I want to do is I want to build a classifier. I want to do is classification. I want that these texts should be divided into different classification based on low priority, medium priority, or high priority. That is it. I don't want to take further actions on it, but surely the actions can be taken up for that. I do have a video on this channel as well, which actually helps you to divide the support tickets into different ones, but we're going to write a shorter version of it so that you can see, all right, it can be done in Python. It's not that really of a big deal. So all you have to do is go ahead and grab your API keys from Gemini or OpenAI. Only slight piece of code is going to change. All right, so I have this folder. Let's go ahead and yes, you can go ahead and follow along with me. No problem at all. The only thing that will change is the API key. Go ahead and grab it. I'll not show you mine. So first of all, let's go ahead and say Python 3 because I'm on a Mac. If you're in Windows, just write Python. We're going to use a module of venv because we want to have virtual environment, and I will create a folder of venv as virtual folder. Let's hit enter. Once I hit enter, it creates a virtual environment so that I can go ahead and install the stuff. And first of all, we need to activate it. I'm on the Mac, so I'll just go ahead and say source, and the source is in the venv /bin, and I have this activate script. I'll activate this. All right, good enough. And now, first of all, I do have a pip utility inside this. I do have Python inside it as well, but I want to go ahead and install pip, but this is already installed. I just want to upgrade it because it will give me an error. So, all right. So pip is installed. Now let's go ahead and install a couple of utilities. The first one being OpenAI, which will give us the reasoning engine or the brain. And we also want to hide our environment variable. So I'll just go ahead and say python.env. This is just used so that I can load my environment variables from a file known as .env. That is it. That's all it takes. And there we go. We are all set and all ready. Now, what do we want to do? Now, all I want to do is write a very simple script that divides my task into multiple of the things. And for this, we are going to need a couple of strategies. Let me walk you through with that within the code. Let's call this one as task agent.py. All right. First of all, what do we want to do? Let's write the strategy for this. First of all, load env. So I will load the environment variable. After that, we want to read all the tasks. So let's go ahead and read the task, and we'll read the task from a file. So let's also create a file in here, and we'll call this one as tasks.txt. We can read from other places as well. It's super easy. No big deal there. All right, read the task. And then we will go ahead and make a call to OpenAI with prompt to sort or not sort, categorize our tasks. So this is the whole thing that we want to do. All right, first of all, we have to read from a file. So if we have to read from a file, the first thing that I have to do is import OS so that I can verify whether this task exists or not. So let's go ahead and define a method for this. Let's call this one as read task or tasks. Good enough. You'll give me a file path. There we go. Now, if you don't give me a file path, I can actually read from the current directory as well. I will show you that. Actually, that's an easy process. We can just give it a file directory that, hey, just read this task. We'll just give the file name. Anyways, if you're using the old versions of reading the file, please don't do this. Right now, it's very easy in the Python. I'll show you. We can just go ahead and say with open the file path, whatever is the file, in what mode you want to open. I want to open it in read mode. We will store the reference as just an F, and then we will just go ahead and take this reference of F, and we have the so many methods to work on with that. We have just one method, read, and we will return. Super easy. Now, if you don't give it any file path, just give it a file name also. It will look in the current directory and will automatically read that. All right. Now let's go ahead and work on loading the environment variable. Okay. So loading the environment, we will say from .env, we are going to import load env, and all we got to do is say load.env, and that's it. It automatically goes into your current directory and say that I want to have a .env file. And in here, we'll say OpenAI API key. And this is where I have to go on to the platform.openai and I have to grab my key. So I will grab key in a minute. All right, I'll not show you this, but I will grab it. So how we can make a call to the OpenAI? That's also simple. From OpenAI, let's go ahead and import OpenAI. Once we are done with this, we need to create an instance of it. So let's go ahead and comment this as well. Or probably we can directly go ahead and say the OpenAI, we can create an object out of it, sort of. Let's call this one as client. Feel free to name it whatever you like. This is just a variable name. And now let's go ahead and make an API call. And you might be thinking making an API call is really a big deal. It is not. You just have to send a prompt. So what we can do? Let's create a method for this. We will call this as summarize task or tasks. You will give me all the tasks, just like that. The step one is to create a prompt. So let's just say we have a prompt and this is a formatted string just like this, or it can be a triple strings as well. Let's use actually triple strings. And I will just go ahead and say like this. Or just for a minute, let's actually keep this on same line. My prompt. I will show you how to write really a nice prompt as well. Don't you worry on that part. But first I want to show you that how it looks like to make an API call, because people make so much noise on it. All you have to take is this client, and ChatGPT documentation make it super easy. Even Gemini documentation make it super easy to work on with this. Now this client has so many capabilities. One of the capability is to just chat with this. Now let me remind you, if you're watching older tutorials, the syntax has changed. So go ahead and consult the documentation for this. This one is actually the latest one. So in the chat, we have the completions, and then we can just go ahead and create a new chat. Once I go ahead and create a chat, I have to provide that, hey, what model do I want to use? Depends on how much money you have. Feel free to use whatever you like. It's totally up to you. I'll just use the basic one, GPT-4, but feel free to use Turbo. And as we can see, we have so many options. We don't have to just guess them. It's there in the suggestion. We can use Codex Mini latest as well, by the way. All right. Once I'm done with this, the next step is to send the message. And there is a way how you send the message. It's an array, always an array of the message, not like that. And inside this, we have to provide a dictionary. The dictionary, first of all, the key is role. So whose role? The ChatGPT and in fact, the whole OpenAI works on who is asking the message. They have variety of role, who is talking right now. So first of all, we are going to go ahead and say this role is of user. That is means we are asking, and what is the content that user is trying to give, because there are other roles like system prompts, all other things. I will say the content that user is giving is this prompt. And we will fill up the messages and all these things. Once this whole thing is done, that means we have made the request to this. And are we having an issue? Why is it having the issue? Why this one is... Okay, was not closed. Which one I forgot to close? Oh, I forgot a comma. My bad. Okay, once we have made this call, let's go ahead and handle the response just like this. And once we have the response, you can just go ahead and print the response. It will give you whole thing. But you also know from the documentation that this response actually gives you a lot of choices. And in fact, an array of choices, and you can choose any of the response. Now, in the early days, it used to give you multiple of the responses. And that's why you see in the tabs of cursor, you see multiple of the responses. You can choose any one of them. Now it's much easier. In the choices, let's get the first array. It's in the array format, so first element of it. And inside that, you can just try to print this up, no problem. We can extract the message out of it. And from the message, we can just go ahead and set the content out of it. Pretty easy. We will work on that. Now, in order to run this, we will just use a main method to just execute this script. So let's just say if the dunder is name, and that equals to the dunder main. A really weird script. I still find it strange. Then all we got to do is, first of all, let's read the task. And for this, we'll provide you the where my task file exists. It exists in the same directory. So tasks.txt. We don't have any task. We will just add the task in a minute. And then let's hold the response in task list or task text, whatever you want to call this. No problem at all. And once we have, oh, Rask, brisk. No, this is not what I want to say. I have the task text. What am I writing? Task text, mouthful. All right, once we have done this, all we have to do is call this summarize task. There we go. and we can just provide all the task text to it and hold the summary of the response just like this. And all we got to do is print it up. So let's print it up nice and beautifully. We'll use a formatted string. No, we can actually directly use just like this /n and just say task summary and then a /n. And apart from this, what also I would like to do is just use a dash, and let's go ahead and multiply it by 30 so that we have a nice border-ish kind of a thing. And last but not the least, the most important task, don't forget to print summary. There we go. All right. Now comes up the most interesting thing, that how we go ahead and send the prompt, because this is where the magic happens. Let's go ahead and write a really nice prompt together, and we will inject some of the variables as well. We'll go ahead and say that you are a smart task planning agent. You have to actually give it and call it that what you are. First of all, give it a role that what you have to do. And I will say, given a list of tasks, categorize them into 3 categories, or 3 priorities is also good. 3 priority buckets. Let's keep it very sophisticated. And the buckets that I want you to do is, first of all, going to be high priority. Then the second one is going to be medium priority. And the third one is going to be low priority. All right. But this is not going to cut through. We have to actually provide it like this, that, hey, these are the tasks. And we can actually go ahead. We are assuming that somebody will give us this task. So we can actually give it a sample task as well. And there we go. Tasks, just like that. And we will also go ahead and say return the response in this format. Yes, there are a lot of types of prompting, but we'll use this one. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and say high priority, and it will go ahead and have task 1. Then we will have task 2. And yes, you have to spend time in that. Similarly, we have medium priority. That will also have a task 1. And then we have the task 2, just like that. And we can have low priority. You can go ahead and write it. I'll just go ahead and add it like this. Hopefully it will understand. Otherwise, I have to go ahead and improve my prompt again. All right. So that is it. That's all what we need. Now, the only thing that we need is some task and my environment variable key, which I will not show you. Let me pause the video and grab my key. All right, I'm back. I'll not show you my key. Go ahead and grab your own key, or if you're using Gemini, just use the same models just like that. So I have a list of tasks, which is update the homepage UI, reply to the customer support ticket, write the monthly newsletter, fix login bug, and we'll see that how AI behaves and give us the response for this one. Should be fairly easy, but I want to see that what happens with this one. So let's go ahead and say, hey, Python, I want to run a task script just like that. It obviously will take some time because we are sending a web request, and hopefully. So this is the response we got. Notice here how beautifully the task summary is high priority. So reply to the customer are always a priority, fix the login bug, and back up the database. So these are high priority tasks. And medium priority is update the homepage, post the Instagram update for product launch, and schedule team stand-up. And the low priority are write the monthly newsletter, clean up the unused AWS bucket, and research competitor pricing. Fairly a good job. But now here's the interesting point that we want to debate about, that is it really an AI agent, or should we really call this as an AI agent? Or coming back onto this, don't want to show you, actually have this, and we're going to delete this, revoke the key. Don't want to show it to anyone. All right. Now coming back on to this guy, that, all right, so we have built the code, we have written the code. How is this an AI agent? How is this an AI agent? We want to debate on this, otherwise this video is empty. If we cannot back this up, that is this an AI agent, we cannot call this. So first of all, does it meet some of the categories? Do we have a very precise goal? Yes, we have a goal, that is categorize the task by priority. That was probably my goal. I have a very smart agent and we have, let's just say, 1,000 people in the support, and it automatically categorize my tickets based on the priority as well as the skills of the people that I have in my organization. So definitely this can be improved in that. So goal, I do have this. Do we have some kind of a tool with us? Yes, I call this one as tool or also as a reasoning engine. And yes, we are using a reasoning engine. We used OpenAI for that, OpenAI. So it has a tool. Does it have a memory? Now you might be wondering, no, it doesn't have a memory, but it has a memory. The input file that we gave is also kind of memory. Now loosely can be considered, but it's a memory. It's a permanent memory, can be considered. But what the output we get, we don't have a memory. And based on that output, we cannot actually improve the future input. So I'll call this as in the medium category. We kind of have it, kind of don't have it. So it's a very loosely one. But another thing, do we have a proper planning? This is where our prompt actually comes in this example. Yes, we have a very precise planning. If I go back onto this and the code part of it, yes, we have a very precise and meticulous planning that I have only 3 categories to divide my task into that. So yeah, the planning is there. Now, execution. What kind of execution we have? As of now, I would say it has an execution of just categorizing my tickets into different parts. It doesn't have much of the capabilities, but if I write a little bit more code that once I have the categories, read that categories or save this file into CSV or JSON, super easily can be done. Then let's go ahead and probably read the tickets from email. Yeah, that's probably a great execution. If I can read the tickets from the email and then automatically categorize that, that would be fantastic. And can I go ahead and update in Notion or Slack? Oh, you have created a Slack bot, which if there is new file added in the CSV, which is high priority CSV, automatically notifies you in the Slack. Yeah, that's nice. And end of it, if we have a platform just like that we have built, if the task can be assigned to a person, whichever are only required, yeah, that's it. So if we add a little bit more functionality, it would be a true and perfect AI agent. But is it an AI agent in this condition? Yeah, it has. It has a lot of things. As I mentioned, it doesn't need to have all of the things. It has a goal, it has a planning, memory, we are debating on that, but it has also reasoning. It also has some level of autonomy. We are not interrupting that, hey, this task should go into high priority or this one should go in low priority. It's doing all its on own. And